Charlie Bakhos, thank you for coming. My second guest. I really appreciate you being here, man. Thanks.
I was just about to introduce you because I'm used to being the one introducing and talking. So
Exactly right. So for those who don't know, Charlie, well, I'm sure everyone knows anyway from my audience, but for those who don't, Charlie is it runs the Stand for Truth podcast, which you've been running for a number of
almost
years.
3 years now.
Yeah. How's that been going, by the way?
Very good, thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, bringing a lot of people to Christ and telling people a lot of stories. You're getting well-known athletes and priests and people who aren't well-known coming, telling their testimonies and sharing their stories about Christ and how they came to Christ, and it's just expanding. And as you can see in the world today, so many athletes and so many people, like in the World Cup soccer, you see them like, Messi doing the sign of the cross and,
true.
and all these UFC fighters, talking about Christ. So it's become fashionable in a positive way. If
Christianity, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Actually, that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today. But
I can read it from here. No,
yeah,
I'm
you
joking.
can see it from here.
I'm joking.
But I wanted to kick things off because I know many people know who you are. I've obviously known who you are for some time, but genuinely, I don't know enough about you. I don't know enough about your story. I think I told you I was going to watch a podcast, but then I was going to limit it to one because I want to authentically.
Did you watch one?
I did, yeah. I watched the one with Carl Stefanovic.
Okay.
So I know a little bit about you, and also within the community. Like we're from Sydney, you're Lebanese and I'm Lebanese. So I know, like in and among the community, a lot of people know who you are. All right, but to be completely honest, I'm not around I'm Lebanese, but I'm not around the Maronite kind of scene very much. I haven't been my whole life. I'm still Catholic, but I've just kind of been like, I went to school in a Roman Catholic school. So while there were a lot of Lebanese in and amongst where I was, it wasn't like the
What
actual
school did you go to?
St. Felix in Bankstown.
In Bankstown, okay.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so because of that, I wasn't around the same group of people who genuinely know you, and now it's stretched far and beyond outside of that. So because of that, I don't know much about you. So I want to learn about your story. So you start wherever you think you want to start from. So who is Charlie Bakhos?
Who is Charlie Bakhos? So I'm actually a little bit kind of similar. I grew up in Ashbury, which is the Canterbury area.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, and obviously I was born in Australia. My parents came from Lebanon, and growing up Maronite, but we used to get teased at school being Lebanese.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't like today where hate speech. It was just teasing. It was
How old are you, Charlie?
50.
50. Okay. Yeah.
So I was born in 75. My parents came to Australia in 69.
Oh wow.
So all my brothers were born here. I'd never been to Lebanon until the age of about 21.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know, only what my parents told me. But being brought up as a Maronite, my parents used to take me to church.
Mm-hmm.
It was an Arabic mass, and we didn't really understand. Actually, we didn't understand a word. So praying at night, they'd force us to pray in Arabic. I didn't know what I was saying. So my faith as a young kid was like almost like not forced, but just it was just our parents taking us to church. I didn't
cultural,
know
more
cultural
than anything.
thing. I didn't know anything about the faith. We never read the Bible. When I prayed, I didn't understand what I was saying because it was in Arabic. When I went to mass, I didn't understand what a word. It was in Arabic.
Were you weekly mass goers? So you would.
Yeah, they took me to mass every Sunday. But again, it was just like a routine. And again, my mum left school when she was in kindergarten. She had to take care of her mum back in Lebanon. So she wasn't educated. So how's she going to teach me the Bible if she didn't really read the Bible? So she learned the prayers from her parents and just taught me the prayers in Arabic, and we'd say it but didn't understand what was going on. So we were brought up in a Lebanese household in Australia. Going to school, we got teased. I used to bring the Lebanese za'atar sandwich to school, and the kids were like, "He's eating birdseed. He's eating birdseed." So me and I got a twin brother. We'd grab the sandwiches and throw them in the bin. We were embarrassed of them.
Out of embarrassment.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the bag would be filled with oil and za'atar, and then we'd grab the za'atar sandwich and throw it in the bin. One day, this Italian Aussie kid saw me grab the sandwich. He said, "What's that?" I said, "Oh, nothing." He said, "You eating bird food?" I said, "No." And I got embarrassed. He said, "I want to taste it." And he tasted it, and he loved it. So that's why I became a salesperson back when I was about 7 years old. So that sandwich, that Lebanese sandwich, I started selling it for $1.20.
Really?
And I'd go back home to my mum. Hey, mum.
To the Australian kids?
Yeah, to the Australian kids. So, hey, mum, I'm hungry. One sandwich is enough. Can you make me 3 or 4?
That
I
would've
was
made her
hustling,
day.
selling. I was selling za'atar sandwiches at the age of 6 and 7. So,
Wow.
yeah, things like that. But we got teased and we turned it into a positive. It is what it is, you know?
I want to talk more about your personal, but just on that note, before we get off topic, I heard, like, because I'm 33, right? When people ask me, you know, did you experience racism in Australia and things like that, I probably remember a little bit of it, like a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of it, but it was probably past my time,
Our one is bad.
right? So, did you experience
Yes,
much
yes.
racism? What was it like?
Look, that's what I was going to get to next. So that was racism, which we turned to a positive. When we got a bit older, there was, to be honest, there was racism. Like, I felt like growing up in Australia, everybody was racist towards each other. Like, every nationality was racist. But when we hit like 18, 19, I'll tell you straight out, we couldn't get into any of the nightclubs. Any Lebs couldn't get into nightclubs, right?
Right.
They would say to you, sorry, can't let you in, you're Lebanese.
How would they know you're Lebanese?
The way you look.
Just, okay, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So they would actually, the bouncers would say, sorry, I can't let you in, man. And guys that we knew working on the doors, Islander guys would say, listen, man, come by yourself, bring a girl with you, because the owners tell us that you're Lebanese, we can't let you in. But if they see you with a girl, and so we'd have 6, 7 guys, we'd wait around the corner and wait for a girl to walk in with her and make sure she looks Australian so they can let us into a club.
Wow.
Whereas the Aussies would just walk straight in.
Right.
And that was blatant everywhere. Everyone saw it. Police used to pull us over. I used to get pulled over maybe once a week. And I wasn't say in a car with 3 or 4 guys get pulled over. We weren't doing anything illegal. And the cops would just laugh. What's going on? Oh, you know why we pulled you over? Yeah, because we're Lebanese. Yeah, yeah. And they just laugh.
How did you feel about that? Like, was racism, did it get to you? Because
did
they
get
make
to
it a
us.
big deal today, but was it something that, like, yeah, did it get to
It
you?
did get to us in a way that, like, the Lebanese, we had to lie to the girls. We had to say we're half Brazilian and half French, and we had to make up a story that weren't there because they were scared because of what the media would say about Lebanese. So we grew up in this culture where it was hard to get a job being Lebanese, couldn't get into a nightclub just to go have some fun being Lebanese. If you look back, even in sports, to make it in sports, in rugby league, most rugby league players back then were white. Now it's all Islanders
Yeah,
and
true. That's a
Aboriginals, and there's some
good
Lebanese. But back
observation,
then, the only Lebanese guy was Benny Elias. That's it.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah,
until Robbie Farah. But back then, before that, it was Benny Elias.
yeah, yeah.
So it was very hard to crack in the sports world, in the building world. The Lebanese had this bad image, and again, a lot of it was from the media. And if you watch TV, Home and Away and Neighbours, it was all white Australian Anglos. When did you ever see a Lebanese or an Italian on Home and Away or Neighbours or
Right.
things like that? So it was very racist.
Okay.
Australia was very racist, but we grew up with it. And then probably what do they say, the straw that broke the camel's back was the Cronulla riots.
Yes, I remember that.
You know, Cronulla riots, I was probably in my early 20s, mid-20s maybe, and I still remember clearly I was doing sales and we couldn't go to the Sutherland Shire or Cronulla or anywhere past, say, Brighton, because we were scared that we were going to get jumped being Lebanese,
Yeah.
right? And vice versa. I felt sorry for because the Aussies from down south were scared to come to, you know, Bankstown or Burwood or any of these areas because I thought they were going to get bashed because of being white Australian. So
yeah, it became very territorial. I remember, I feel like that, like you think about it now, it's a distant memory and things have changed so much now. But like back then, if I can think of any moment in Australian history while I was alive at least, where racism was at its peak, or at least the discussion of racism was at its peak, it was probably the Cronulla riots. And then it started to taper off, or something happened after that period. So yeah, it was interesting.
Well, to add to that, you're 100% right. But I'm going to be honest, and maybe this might be very left field,
Yeah.
or right wing field.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling today, the last year or two, Australia's getting very racist. Like
Right.
it's getting very.
Why
racist.
do you say that?
I see it online. Like like I'll give you an example. Going back to the Cronulla riots, they jumped some guys down at Cronulla on the trains and they end up being Indians or Pakistanis. They weren't even Lebanese because they look brown or they look like Lebanese. So the mentality back then, anybody who was a bit brown or olive skinned was Lebanese. They could have been Italian, they could have been Pakistani, they could have been anything, but they didn't know. And now I'm seeing online comments that you see, for example, people being racist towards different nationalities, but they're being very like, look, how can I explain it? It goes towards the, it's like an uprising of this we're Australian.
Nationalistic kind of.
Yeah, but they're almost lumping it in with extreme racism.
Right. Do you think there's an issue with that? Like, for example, you look at America, right? They're proud to be American. You look at Japan, they're proud to be Japanese. China, everywhere in the world. But for Australia, it's always been this really unusual thing where, because we're made up of so many different cultures, maybe back in your time, the time that you were talking about, where there was obvious racism from white Australians towards every nationality, there was that time where there was probably some more nationalism back then. But do you see a problem?
Well, now if you have Australian flag,
because exactly
on
right.
Australia Day, people call you a racist.
That's what I mean. And so, like, I'm just thinking to myself, like, there's that fine line, and there should be a balance, because we should be proud to be Australians, right? But the idea of being proud to be Australians is, who are we talking about when we say Australians? Are you counted as an Australian,
This is the
Lebanese
problem.
Australian?
This is the problem.
And before we get onto that though, because these are the interesting topics that I want to hear from you and I want to listen to your perspective about. But I do want to get back to your early story, because I just want to understand who you are and why you are so prominent now among our community, because you clearly have a really large audience now. People are interested in what you want to, what you say, as am I. I'm one of your followers. But I want to understand why and how all that came about. So tell me about your early life. And
So,
things like
I might have jumped to page 72, but
that's okay.
it's part of the story. So,
Okay, sure.
So back then, being brought up in Australia with Lebanese parents, Christian parents, started to mold firstly, my Lebanese heritage, as well as my Australian culture, being an Australian, born here, and my Christianity, all mixed in one. So it was all part of the journey, right? When I hit 18, 19, left school, started probably going away from God, started partying, clubs. It was harmless. Yeah, we go out Friday, Saturday night. Friday, Saturday night became, let's get drunk Friday, Saturday night, Thursday night, Sunday night, Wednesday night. I got to the point by the age of 25, we'll go in nightclubs from Tuesday till Sunday. Monday was night off. That was date night. We'd date girls on the Monday. We'd pick up all the girls from Tuesday to Sunday, getting drunk every single night, partying. Drugs wasn't like it is today. The people that did do drugs back then used to do it at like events once a month or New Year's Eve. There was people that would just do, for example, drugs just on New Year's Eve, right? Or there's the ones that used to do it monthly or every couple of weeks. Whereas now there's people getting into addictions on a daily basis. It's getting out of hand. Yeah. Wasn't that many people back then that were doing drugs daily.
There's more party drugs.
Party drugs, like, and it was once a month.
Right.
Once a week at most.
You'd save it for when you go out, for example.
I never did drugs, but the guys around me did.
Right.
And that's what they would do, right? But I would drink, and I was drinking every single night and getting drunk every single night. Then I started dabbling into the
What age was this?
23, 24.
Okay.
Then I started to gamble.
Right.
My gambling started. We broke the trend where poker machines used to be for the old ladies and old men at the RSL clubs. We were the first kind of generation that you walk into an RSL club or a pub and you see all these old 70-year-old people playing poker machines, and us 19, 20-year-olds. We were the first ones that started playing poker machines.
You were the ones that made it cool for the
We
younger.
made it cool. It wasn't cool back then, you know. We made it cool, and then we started the sports betting, and I started playing poker. Then there was a big online poker stars. Everyone used to play poker online, so I was part of that trend. And at first, it just started off, you know, gambling here or there, $100, $200. to the point where 2-3 years later, mid to late 20s, I was gambling from 5 in the morning till midnight every day.
Wow.
Every day.
Did that happen progressively, or was there
It
a point
took
where...
about 3 or 4 years to get to that point.
Right.
So I started off
Did you notice along the way that you were becoming addicted? Did you feel that you were addicted from the get-go, or was that like a thing?
No.
No?
See, I always said that I had an addictive personality. So when people say, you hung out with all these people and you never did drugs, my saying was that I knew I had an addictive personality. I used to always say that if I tried cocaine, I'd probably have it on my cornflakes every morning.
Oh,
That's
wow.
how bad I was.
Sure.
So I wouldn't try it because I was scared I was going to get hooked. So what
So
I
you
did,
were self-aware. You knew
I was
that you were-
self-aware.
Yeah.
but with gambling, I thought I had control. So I didn't think that I was going to get caught up in it. And it took 3-4 years where, you know, I'd gamble every second day to every third day to eventually every day, once here and there, and then sports betting and this, and then it just started going 2-3 hours a day, then it became non-stop. And psychologically, especially when you're playing poker, you get a lot of people that play poker convince themselves it's a sport, especially
Yes.
poker tournaments. I'm not a gambler. I just play poker.
Yeah, like you're right. It's kind of like a
And there
a
are
gentleman's version
Yeah.
of gambling, like, you know, more strategy involved and things like
poker
that.
tournaments.
Right.
To be honest with you, there is a lot of truth behind that. But the problem is when you're an addicted gambler playing poker, trying to convince yourself you're playing tournaments as a sport, but you're still addicted, you start. It's almost like you're an addicted gambler and you are buying Bitcoin, you start, or crypto, and you start day trading.
Right. Yeah.
You become a gambler through crypto, if that makes sense.
That's a good analogy.
And I did that too.
Yeah.
I did crypto at one stage where I was day trading, thinking that I'm trading, but I'm actually it was
You're
like
just
gambling. I was
Yeah,
gambling.
Sure.
So that's what happened. So with poker, for example, the tournament poker, you'd play tournament. There was a lot of strategies. If you have this hand as a percentage, you work out probabilities. I read books about tournaments. There was once I'm not going to disclose the books because I don't want people to go into this stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
But there was books that I read where it was one book that educated me how to win. I went into a poker tournament without looking at my cards, and I won the tournament 3 times in a row.
This
I won a
stuff
whole
works.
poker tournament, 8 hours straight without looking at my cards. I pretended I was looking at the cards so that people wouldn't know that I wasn't looking. But really, I wasn't looking at the cards, and I was gambling strategies. I was playing poker strategies, and I was winning tournaments.
Oh.
But what happens is my addictive personality comes in, and I start wanting to gamble because I find that boring.
So you need, like, you're getting like a
I need
an
an
energy
adrenaline rush.
You need another adrenaline rush. Yeah, sure.
So
So this got to the age of 23. Did you say?
started at 23.
Oh, it started at 23.
Got deep into it about 27,
Uh-huh.
all the way to the age of 40.
Can I just ask? I'm asking this more from a cultural level because we share the same culture. Were your parents aware?
No idea.
They had no idea.
No idea.
The reason I ask that for my audience is because in our culture, like, it's really
Frowned upon.
It's like you're almost like ashamed to have or to be involved with somebody who's a gambler very strongly in our culture. So your parents had no idea.
No
the
idea.
entire time.
They would be thinking that I'm going out with my friends. Whenever I lost big money, I'd started becoming, and again, I'll go back to when I was a little kid selling those za'atar sandwiches. I wasn't doing anything bad.
Yeah.
My parents instilled religion and faith in me that at one stage there was an orange tree growing in our backyard from next door. My mum would say, don't take the oranges, they're stealing. So me and my brother would not take the oranges because I wouldn't want to steal.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I grew up, we would not steal. I would never steal. I would never lie. Well, that's what I was brought up to do.
Yes.
But when I started getting caught up in gambling, I became a different person without even knowing. So, for example, I'd lose $40,000, $50,000. And how am I going to get out of this hole? I'd go to my parents and say, just went into a business deal and I got screwed over by my partner and I lost 40 grand and I need to get myself out of this. And they'd help me because they think that my business deal went sour. So I was lying to them, thinking that, okay, get in the funds and then I'll return it to them.
Wow.
And at times I would return the money when I'd win. So in my head, I wasn't stealing,
stealing.
I was borrowing the money.
Wow. Yeah.
But what happens when you can't pay it back? You're actually stealing.
Yes.
But I convinced myself, because I thought I was a very intelligent guy, that I was convincing myself that I'm just borrowing the money.
Isn't it interesting, like what we do as humans is like you convinced yourself in that moment that you weren't stealing.
I believed it.
And then you also justified your gambling by being a strategist. You know, you were like, it's strategy. It's not gambling. It's not like this is kind of like business almost. So it's easy for us humans to do that to ourselves, and it's so important for us to check ourselves at times, because it's just the human brain is very interesting.
And
we
it's
just make
dangerous.
excuses for ourselves.
It's dangerous when you actually know and you're intelligent. Like I believe I'm intelligent enough to create these stories in my head. That's what's scary.
Right.
Somebody who's not that intelligent probably wouldn't be able to come up with these things. But I was able to come up with these things where I would convince myself. And that's the dangerous part too, because I always convince myself I can stop gambling whenever I want. I just don't want to stop. So what would happen if you ask me how many times did I give up gambling? Probably about 70 times I gave up gambling. Sometimes one day, sometimes 1 week, sometimes 2 weeks. How would I do it? Very easy strategy. Do you know how I'd stop gambling?
Yeah.
I'd run out of money.
Right.
So I'd run out of money and I'd say, okay, you know what? I'm going to give it up now. As soon as I get my paycheck, I'm going back to gambling.
Yeah.
Like, it was that dangerous.
So you did this for a number of years. You were drinking during this time as well.
Drinking
like
6
party,
nights a week.
Party drinking kind of thing, or even
party drinking.
Yeah.
Look, I never drank. I wasn't an alcoholic that would drink during the day.
Yeah. Okay.
I actually wouldn't even drink at a family barbecue. I didn't actually like the taste.
It sounds
of
like you were after the adrenaline rush.
I love the getting drunk, the feeling of acting stupid, taking control of my mind where I'm not stressed anymore because I'm just having a good laugh. So I would drink every night. I'd go out and I'd be going out 6 nights out of the 7. So I'd be gambling during the day. And because, like you said, it was frowned upon, I was living not a double life, a quadruple life.
Okay.
I had my gambling friends who didn't know my party friends. So the guys I used to party with at Ivy and Marquee and the clubs didn't know that I gambled. So when I go to the casino to go to Marquee, I'd say, hey, boys, let's walk around this way. I don't want to walk through the poker room. We walk around because there's more girls this way.
Sure.
Because I didn't want to go with the poker because people, hey, Charlie.
And they'll expose you to your other friends. Okay.
And I'd be in Marquee and I'd say to the boy, I'm just going to go to the bathroom. We're back. I'd go downstairs, go and put a bit of betting on for 20 minutes and come back. And boys like, what'd you take so long? Oh, I picked up a girl while I was downstairs. And I'd go and get my fix of gambling while I was partying.
Wow.
So I was living the party life, the gambling life. My family didn't know they knew I partied, didn't know I was getting drunk. They just thought I was going out with my friends. So I had my family and my cousins and my uncles and aunties had no idea about any of this. I used to go on Facebook. Let me tell you something. I was the first food blogger before food bloggers came out.
Really?
Yeah. I used to post all the best restaurants, all the best places to go, and all my mates used to, oh, Charlie, we saw your page in this restaurant. We're talking 2009, 2000, like when Facebook first came out, whatever it was, 2010. So I was doing all that stuff back then. And I had every single one of my family members blocked on Facebook. I would post photos with strippers, with 7, 8 girls in a nightclub. I didn't care because I knew that my nephews and nieces aren't on there, my parents aren't on there.
Yeah, you
it was
wouldn't be
open slather. I
exposed.
would just posting everything. Went to a strip club and picked up 5 strippers and I posted a photo with 5 strippers. Online, I didn't care. I was like it was very bad.
At what point did you get to where you're gambling, you're drinking, you're going to strip clubs, you're raised a Christian, and even though you're going and you're just doing the cultural side of the faith, you don't maybe by this point I imagine you're not deeply entrenched.
By that
in your
time
faith.
I was going to church maybe once every 3 or 4 months just to say I went to church.
Oh, right. So at what point do you get to where maybe you have this realization? I don't know if it's your conscience that creeps up on you or whatever it is. Is there an experience at what point do you get to where you realize, what am I doing? How bad has it become? And yeah, talk to me about that moment.
This is the scary part. A lot of people, when I do these videos, they come out and my phone's going to be off tap for the next 2-3 weeks after they watch this, because I'll get every single gambler and drug user in our community ring me wanting help.
Okay.
Because they just see these videos and they reach out. So I probably will get a lot of these calls. And unfortunately, I can't take them all, but I try to help as many as I can. The problem is, I didn't see it being a problem until I hit rock bottom.
Okay.
And I don't want people to hit rock bottom. Rock bottom meant suicide.
Right.
Yeah. So I got to the point.
How long ago was this?
At the age of 40.
Recently? You
No,
said you're
I'm 50, so 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah. That's how I found my faith.
Pretty recent. Wow.
Yeah. 10, 11 years ago. I got to the point where, in a nutshell.
Were you married? Sorry.
No.
So you were 40 years old?
40 years old, single.
You were gambling still? You were drinking?
Dating probably 1 or 2 girls a day. Two different girls every day. Like in a week, I'd be dating 10 to 20 girls. I'd be non-stop different girls, non-stop drinking, non-stop gambling. I was like, I don't know if you've seen Dan Bilzerian.
No.
He's a big poker guy in America. I was like that, just
Right.
I can't even name anyone else on social media or anyone in this world that does like even you see Andrew Tate and all that. I think, like, not trying to compare myself to someone like Andrew Tate, but to be honest, like Andrew Tate had more respect than what I did.
Right.
I was ruthless. Like, I don't see anyone doing what I'm just explaining to you. Like,
Yeah, I
publicly.
understand.
People do it behind closed doors.
Yes.
But I was doing it and I didn't care.
Yeah.
So it got to the point where I lost that much money. I had some bad situations happen to me at work where, like, I was working, I didn't get paid from one of the companies, so I left, and then I got into a financial hole. And I tried to get myself out of it by gambling more and borrowing more money, and I just got into this
Vicious
big,
cycle.
deep hole. And then in a matter of 6 months, I had a situation. Just before the 6 months happened, I had a situation where I met a guy who was from America. And I tell this story before. This guy in America, he was a fugitive from America. I didn't know. I thought he was a music producer. And me and him started partying, marquee strip clubs. He'd gamble and party between 200 and 300 grand a night. And I was with him for about 6 months. And then he got arrested. I didn't know. He got arrested and he ended up being a fugitive from America. He rorted the banking system of $200 or $300 million. And he was on the run in Australia, partying with Charlie Bakhos.
And you were partying with him every
I
day?
had no idea. I thought he was a music producer. So went visited him in jail. Then they extradited him to America, and the FBI. He was on the FBI most wanted list, second after Osama bin Laden back then.
Wow.
Yeah. His name was Tabichi Anawara, a Nigerian American.
Okay.
So I was partying with him, and when he got locked up, things changed. He got locked up. A month later, my friend had a heart condition, ended up in hospital. 2 weeks later, my uncle gets lung cancer. My mom has a heart operation. 3 months later, my uncle dies of cancer. And my best mate passes away at 35.
Wow.
One thing after the other. I lost all this money. I got into this big hole. Couldn't get out of the hole. And my only solution was suicide. So I went to the park, wouldn't even know how to start, and just thought, I can't go on anymore. And something hit me there, so you know what? Either I go down this path of suicide, or maybe I'll choose God, and if there is a God, maybe I can turn my life around. And you know what? I'm thinking about doing suicide, so what have I got to lose? Maybe I'll try God. And my brother rang me at that point. My brother rings me up, and I answered the call, and I said, listen, I gambled my parents' money, I gambled your money. They had no idea.
This is while you're at the park?
Yeah. I just answered the call. I don't care. I'm going to kill myself anyway, so I've got enough to lose. So I just started telling my brother everything. Just calm down. I'll come and help you. And mate, at the end, he came. He got me out of the situation financially. I started working with him, paid back my debts, started coming back to finding about God, started learning about Christ.
Sorry, you said this is your twin brother, right?
No, this is my older brother.
Oh, your older brother. But you have a twin.
Twin, we're nothing alike.
And he didn't know anything about
Nothing.
your life. Neither did any of your
None of them.
siblings, nothing.
None of them.
So this is the first time you're sitting in a park you're genuinely at a point where you want to take your life, and you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, how do I do this? How do I take my life? You get a phone call from your brother, and you're thinking, I may as well just answer it. It might be the last phone call that I ever have before I take my life.
And look, actually, I didn't tell this part of the story. My brother, again, that brother that rang me, he got me. He was going overseas, and he asked me to change some money for him into American dollars. How much is it? Oh, $10,000, whatever. Yeah, no worries. I rang him up and I said, "Oh, this is the rate at the moment." And he's like, "Oh, okay, that's good." I said, "But if you want to keep it for 2 days, the guy will give us a better rate." He said, "Yeah, no worries." Okay, so I'll buy some time, and I took that money to the casino.
Wow. Right.
I gambled it, lost it. I rang him back and I said, "Look, he's going to give me an even better rate, but he's capped it at 20 grand. He's, yeah, come pick up some more money and change it for me." I gambled that as well. So he was obviously probably calling me for the money. I thought myself, I put my parents in a financial situation that they don't know I'm gambling. And if they find out, they're probably going to be really, like, my dad might have a heart attack. My mum already had a heart operation. So I didn't want them to go through, but then I started thinking, if I kill myself, it's probably going to put them through even worse. So at that point, I had nothing to lose. I had already pretty much lost everything. So I thought, you know what? It's going to tell him. And I did.
How did that conversation go? Like, in the sense of, you answered the phone. I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes in that moment, because you're really at rock bottom. When you reach a point where you're considering taking your own life, it's like, what do you even say when you pick up the phone? Did you just kind of let it all out?
I just let it all out.
Straight away.
And I wasn't doing it in a way like, I wasn't even thinking about him trying to help me. I just thought, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. I'm at that point where I'm just about to do this, and this person's calling me. I'm just going to tell him, who cares? I'm not going to be here in 5 minutes probably.
Yeah.
So it was just, I can't really, that's all I can come up with. I mean, someone might be watching going, psychology and this, I don't even know. That's what happened.
I think it was a moment of divine intervention, to be honest. That phone call from your brother saved your life.
Yeah, 100%. And then things happen after that where, so probably the best time gambling was around Christmas and January for me, because there was no work, 3 weeks off, go to the casino day and night, and work wouldn't ring you. And then there was the Aussie Millions poker tournament every January in Melbourne, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the tennis in Melbourne. And so I'd tell my family, I'm going to go watch the tennis for a few weeks, and I'd go and play the poker. Mm-hmm. So all that was coming up, and I had no money. And I was going through this situation, and I thought myself, I've got to really stop now. I've got to turn my life around. Mm-hmm. So when my brother helped me, a lot of things started to happen. So
if someone looked at your life prior to all of this that's happening now, if somebody looked at Charlie Bakhos back then, what would they have said about you? What do you think somebody would have said about who you are as a person?
If they knew all this, or what they knew of? Actually,
let me put it this way. If you looked at yourself, you're looking at yourself today, who was Charlie Bakhos back then?
Oh, that's an ugly one. Because
how do you define yourself back then, now that you're on the other side?
Lost. Look, I had a good heart. I never actually had intentions of hurting anybody. Right. So when I was, for example, taking this money, my intentions were always to return it. I never did any rorts where I, for example, rorted anybody. I went through bankruptcy, but it wasn't like I didn't owe people money.
Right.
I didn't, for example, I didn't go put someone through a financial situation except for my own family members, which I had intentions of paying back.
Yeah, I understand.
So I wasn't an evil person, but yes, I was evil. I was hurting myself more so.
You said you were lost.
Lost.
So that's the best way to put it.
Lost. Yeah. God wasn't in my life. I always say that God sent himself to save us, and we are the ones that are knocking him back. So I was knocking him back the whole time.
Right.
So that's, again, my fault. I don't blame anyone. I don't say, mental health. And I don't sit there and blame anything but myself. I put myself in this situation, okay? self-inflicted. I got myself into these bad situations.
Yep.
Very lost, misguided, probably guided by the evil one, if anything, trying to push me away from the right path because of what I've been able to do the last 10 years. That's probably what he was trying to stop. And that's probably why he's encouraged me to go on the wrong path.
Would you say your life was like, because one would look from the outside in and think, I mean, you used Andrew Tate as an example. Women, alcohol, gambling, party lifestyle, they'd look at that and think, wow.
That's what I did.
Did you feel full, or would you say that you had, like, would you say that maybe you were empty at that stage?
There's a good explanation, analogy they say about the glass of water.
Yep.
Okay. I would say if you got a glass of water and you're filling it up with water and I've got this hole in the bottom, right? And the water just keeps going out.
Leaking, yeah.
But with me, I was filling up that glass of water non-stop. Gambling, girls, drinking, drunk, winning a tournament, picking up another girl, I didn't have time to go through depression. I was that.
You didn't notice the leak at the bottom. You were just
I was just filling it up.
filling it up constantly. Sure.
If I tell you, you won't believe me. I told you if I told you just on a Monday, and most of the week was pretty similar. Monday morning, I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd get on the computer, and I'm at the age of say 37, 38 now. I'm on the computer. I'm placing all my sports bets. What's Charlie Bakhos doing? I'm not a gambler. I'm a sports analyst. So I'm analysing the NBA. LeBron James is injured today, and this guy's maybe not going to play. So therefore, the stats and the probability of this team winning. So I spend 2-3 hours from 5 in the morning to 7:30 doing analytics on who's playing and who's going to win. Then I'll go to work. Before anyone even comes to work, starts at 9. I'm there at 7:30. I'm placing all my bets on the accounts. Then the workers come in, and I was running a call center at the time. I managed the call center. While I'm managing the call center, I'm placing my bets, going to the TAB. So I'm gambling and working at the same time. 4, 5 o'clock comes, I get in my car, go straight to the casino and play a poker tournament. The tournament starts at 6.
Wow.
While I'm playing the poker tournament, remember I told you the tournament is a strategy, but Charlie is playing the tournament and messaging girls at the same time, messaging 7, 8 different girls. And when there's a break, I'm going to the poker machines and putting gambling on the poker machines and sports bets all at the same time. People might be watching, you're probably watching, getting anxiety about just listening to this. Right? That was just a Monday.
Wow.
And then at 10, 11 o'clock at night, if I finished from the poker tournament, I'll go straight to Bada Bing in King's Cross to the strip club on a Monday night. I'd get home at 2, 3 in the morning and back up at 5. I slept for 3 hours.
And on repeat.
On repeat every day.
Okay.
And that was for like 7, 8 years straight.
So now I want to understand what the turning point was like. You said that you got to a point where you hit rock bottom. You spoke to your brother.
Yep.
What did that look like now, that journey up to where we see you today? Because it was only 10 years. I didn't realize that. That's pretty recent.
Yeah.
And for such a radical change in 10 years, tell me what the journey was like from that point.
Well, the radical change happened in under 6 months. Okay, so that time, I told you was that around December. January, like a couple of weeks later, I get a message on Facebook, and I'm praying, like just praying God, like keep me away from this sinful life. Like I didn't know how to pray. I was just praying, just like asking God in my room, like please God help me. Like I want to stay away from this. I don't want to go back to this stuff. And somebody sent me a message that they're building this church in Lebanon called Saint Veronica Giuliani. And it's an Italian saint. And there was a YouTube video that went for about 20 minutes, how all these miracles were happening. And I watched this video and I was just crying and crying and crying because I felt I want to help this church. I want to do whatever I can. So how can I do it? How can I help build this church? So what I did more research, and one thing after the other, I started getting photos and videos and signs of miraculous signs. Like I went to my cousin who runs a charity, and I asked him about raising money for this church, and he said, Charlie, we can't do it because we're doing too much other stuff at the moment. He's just pray on it. And I'm like, what does that mean, pray on it? So the next day he rings me, I said, I've been praying on it, but Jesus hasn't answered me. Like, Just wait for a sign. What's this guy going on about? I need to know now. So the next day, believe it or not, I woke up in the morning on the Facebook page of this Veronica Giuliani. They showed that they were digging under the ground, and under the ground in the what do they call it? It's like the sandstone dirt wall.
Right.
Was the shape of a cross, Jesus on a cross. And I'm asking Jesus for a sign. And I get this the next morning. It's like, wow. So what I do, I go to St. Charbel's that night. I see my cousin. I go to grab him to tell him the story, and some random guy comes up and he goes, Batty. He goes, yeah. He goes, I need you to help this church in Lebanon. And he goes, look, after Mass we'll talk about it. He goes, no, this church needs our help. It's Veronica Giuliani. And Buddy looks at me and he goes, Charlie, there's your sign. That's my second sign in the one day. I go into Mass. You've been to Maronite Mass, yeah?
Yes.
They always say near the end of the Mass, St. Charbel, pray for us, St. Rafka, pray for us. At that time, no one knew who Veronica Giuliani was. The priest was an American, it was like a healing priest from America. It was like an American Indian priest, and he was at St. Charbel's doing a Mass on a Wednesday night. And near the end of the Mass, he said, St. Veronica Giuliani, pray for us. Oh, wow. My cousin looks at me and he goes, this is your third sign. But that's it. I'm going to start my thing now.
Okay.
I went on Facebook, started the page, let's help St. Veronica Giuliani build a church. And I just started messaging everybody who looked like a Lebanese Christian. We're building this church in Lebanon. You want to help? Bang, 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 bang.
Can I just ask, how many people did you have in your network at that time?
Look, my Facebook had about 2,000-3,000 people.
Okay.
I built this Facebook page to 20,000 people in about 3 months. And back then, that was big. And I started bringing people to church. So I was just beginning to go to church. So I started telling people, fasting is coming, Lent is coming. And I thought to myself, I remember back when I was at school that you'd give up chocolate or you'd give up something. And I thought to myself, I'm going to try a different strategy. So I went on Facebook. I said, anybody who wants to give up something for Lent, I'm giving up gambling, drinking, partying, everything for 40 days. But if you want to just give up a cup of coffee and it's $4 a coffee for 40 days, that's $160. Instead of just giving up the coffee, save that money and donate it to the church. Or donate it to any charity that you want. But if you want to help us build this church in Lebanon, give us the money to this charity. I thought, if I do this, maybe I can raise 10 grand in 40 days. 40 days, we rounded up $240,000 on Facebook.
Wow.
And we had a function, and all up in 4 months, we raised 700 grand for this church with the charity. That was 2016.
2016. And, okay, this is what I want to try and understand, is you've gone from living this kind of debaucherous life, okay, to having an experience where you've hit rock bottom and you now want to kind of leave that life behind you and you want to live a life that it seems is kind of going towards Christ and his church.
Yep.
Okay. But how do you end up raising in less than 6 months from that point where you're about to take your life, connecting with that many people that allows you to raise $240,000? Like, how did you have this network of people? How did you?
I didn't have the
gain this
network. I
influence
built
over
them in
people?
that. So what
How
happened
did you
was,
do that?
Yeah.
How did you do that?
God did it. Again, every question you're going to ask me, I tell you, everything I've done in the last 10 years is not me.
Yeah.
Right? It's not me. And I've got proof it's not me. I'm living in rent. I can't even make that money for myself. To make 240 grand for a charity in 40 days,
Yeah.
I wish I could do that for myself. I'd get a deposit and buy a house. Do you know what I mean?
But
You-
so
it's God doing it.
100% agreed.
Yeah.
Like that.
So-
Something like this, God needs to be
That's
involved.
proof that God is
But
doing
what does it look like from a practical level from you, where you open your Facebook page, you don't have that many people following you, and then you end up with $240,000
Okay.
with a
I
charity?
used okay, you know when they say God gives us gifts, right? God gives us gifts and we've got to use them according to what we've been given.
Yes.
I believe God gave me a gift of
Yep.
the tongue,
Okay.
my mouth. I used that gift to pick up girls, to swindle girls, to make money on the poker table. I used to do tricks and stuff during gambling. I used my tongue for evil for 20 years. When I found Christ, instead of picking up girls, I used my tongue to pick up lost souls.
Right.
So I used that gift of my tongue and everything that I learned doing evil, I twisted it and used it for good.
Sure.
So I was in sales. I've been in sales for 30 years. I was a good networker. So how did I build my page? Because a lot of people come to me and say, "Oh, Charlie, can you help us raise money for this church?" And it's not just, I can't just raise money for any church or any organization or any charity. It's got to be the Holy Spirit guiding me. We just did this podcast now. Before we got on a podcast, we prayed.
Yes.
Asked for the Holy Spirit. No matter what I do, business, family, want to have children, I pray and ask the Holy Spirit. Everything for me is from the Holy Spirit, not from me.
Okay.
So when I'm here, how am I going to build this? I don't even know nothing about charity. I don't even know. I thought I could maybe in 2 months raise 10 grand. I had one guy come to me and say, "I've got 10 grand to give you for the church." One guy. I looked at him in his eyes. I'd never know him. I said, "You know, I'm an ex-gambler. 3 months ago, I will take this money and gamble it." He goes, "I trust you." "How do you trust me?" I said, "How do you trust me? You don't even know me." He goes, "I've seen how you've turned your life around the last 2 months. I've been watching some of your stuff and I trust you." Him saying that held me accountable.
Wow. Okay.
Right? If it was 3-4 months before that, I probably would have gambled that money. If I gambled money from my parents, he's a total stranger giving money to the church, and I didn't even think about it. I was like, I can't. So I used everything that I learned in the 20 years prior. So sales, okay. I started going on Facebook. This sounds like psychotic almost, but I basically went on Facebook and went to every single person that looked Lebanese Maronite and had more than 200 followers, add,
Right.
and sent them a message. "Hi, my name's this, bang, bang, we're raising this money for the church. Would you like to help us?" Copy, paste, next. I did that 12, instead of gambling, I did that 12 to 14 hours a day for about 1 month and built the page to 20,000 people. And through those messages, going and meeting these people, and they started messaging back, "Yeah, I'd love to help, and I want to get closer to God, and I want to come to church." So I found a priest called Abu Natanios who was at St. Charbel's, and I went and met him. And I started bringing the people to his mass. His Thursday night mass had 30, 40 guys. Within 3-4 weeks, we had 300, 400, 500 people. Ex-bikies, ex-gamblers coming to mass on a Thursday night, lining up for confession.
And you were meeting these people by way of reaching out to them. You didn't know them before.
Most of them I didn't know. Some of them knew me from my past, so they'd come along and they'd bring their friends. So, for example, I did one thing where I was raising money for the church, and I went. There's a guy who he basically gives rosaries out for a donation or for free, like wooden rosaries with a rosary booklet.
Yep.
I went and met with him, Aussie guy out west, and he said, "Mate, I'll give them to you for free, or you can make a donation." I said, "Well, what's a donation?" He goes, "Oh, $1 a rosary, whatever." I said, "Give me 300 rosaries, here's $300. All the money's going to go to building this church." I put these rosaries online on Facebook. First one, I auctioned it off. I got $500 for it. For a $1 rosary, I got $500.
Wow.
So what I did,
that was from the network that you created.
yeah,
so
off the Facebook. So what I did, I wrote, "We're going to auction off this rosary. All the proceeds are going to go to the church in Lebanon. The condition is the highest bidder in the next 3 hours wins the rosary, but you have to meet me on Thursday at St. Charbel's Mass, and after Mass I'll give you the rosary." So the guy that won it messages me, "My name's this and that, I'm the highest bidder, no problem. Meet me at St. Charbel's," and meets me at St. Charbel's. Comes to the beginning of the Mass outside. He said, "Here's the 500. I said, no, I'll pick it up after Mass." He said, no, I don't do Mass on Thursday. I'll do Mass on Sunday. I said, "Brother, the condition was that you have to do Mass. You don't want to do Mass, there's the door. I'll give the rosary to someone else." And because I was very direct, he was like, "Mate, just relax, man." I said, "I am relaxed. You're the one not going by the conditions. It was very clear that you have to come to the Mass. You don't want to come to the Mass, that's fine, mate. You're not holding your obligation, and the rosary is not yours." And they were like ruffled, like, who's this guy talking like? I was just pretty blunt. And he'd go into the Mass and he fell in love with the priest. Come outside, gave me the money. He's like, "Man, next week I'm bringing 5 boys." So next week he rocks up and he's been going to Mass ever since.
Wow. Okay.
And that's what I was doing with everybody. I was just being blunt, direct, but honest.
Just out of curiosity, were all these people Lebanese mainly?
Mainly.
The ones-
At that
okay.
time, yes.
Yeah.
Mainly.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's changed now. There's a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
so,
Yeah,
so back
absolutely.
then it was I was because I was helping build a church in Lebanon, I was targeting Lebanese Maronites because it's a church in Lebanon. I didn't think Italians and Islanders and that would want to help a church in Lebanon. I just didn't think.
It's just interesting because the way that you're speaking so direct, I find being Lebanese, that's what resonates with Lebanese people very much. So it's like the community were almost waiting
Yeah.
for somebody to just be so direct and speak to them. I mean, you reaching out to them on Facebook saying, this is who I am, this is what we're going to do. And then them saying, I've been waiting to find
That's right.
something and things. It's like, it just shows how much goodness people actually have, but they need to maybe be led.
They need to
pushed.
be guided, and I use that. Like
Yeah.
again, I use that. Even for example, the giving up something for Lent, like a when we were at primary school, give up chocolate, or whatever. Yeah. I always used to think, giving up chocolate, what's it gonna do for Jesus? I really didn't understand. Like, no one ever explained it to me. Well, I don't understand giving up chocolate. What's it gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, how's that going to help me come closer to Christ?
Yep.
So I just used that and manipulated it in a good way, saying, don't just give up something. Whatever you're going to save from that, give back. So you're giving up and you're giving back. So you're hitting like 2 or 3 birds with one stone. So firstly, you're giving up something, then you're giving back to the community, and then you feel like you're doing something. So people love that. And I was like, okay, you go for a steak. It's $40 for a steak back then, once a week. Over a 7-week period, 7 times 40, that's, $280, whatever it is. My maths is a bit off. Give that $280 to the church. You don't want to give it to the church in Lebanon. Go to the poor in the city and feed them with $280.
Yeah,
so you feel like you're doing something. And I had a mate of mine where I was selling raffle tickets, and he goes, Charlie, man, I don't do this stuff, man. Just give me the book. I'll buy 10 books off you. And I said, listen, I know you have money, and I don't want your money. And God doesn't want your money. He said, what do you want? I want to help you. I said, I want you to sell these books. He said, yeah, I'll buy them. I said, no. You can't buy them. I want you to physically go and ask your brother and your cousin and your friends to buy 1 book each. I want you to go to 10 people and sell 10 books. And he went and did that. He felt small because he's supposed to be some big business owner, but it made him feel like he's doing some hard yards for it.
Gave him purpose. Yeah.
Purpose. Yeah, it's not that much money for him, but if he's got money, he's giving now time to God. So I started using people's brains, using their tongues, using their mouths, using their gifts, twisting it around and using that instead of just being sitting ducks in a church.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Right? And it started to resonate with non-Maronites and non-Catholics. Right? So Protestants started reaching out. I started a page called Christian Lives Matter, which I'll get to in a minute.
Yeah.
So that was a Veronica Giuliani page. And that was all from God. Then I started getting a lot of people reaching, hey, Charlie, look what's happening in Egypt. They're blowing up churches in Egypt and they're killing Christians in Nigeria back in 2017. So almost 10 years ago. So I started posting up a page called Christian Lives Matter. So Black Lives Matter started in America, if you remember.
Yeah.
Before George Floyd.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
George Floyd made it
He
famous.
made it famous. Okay. Yeah.
Black Lives Matter was a few years before that.
Okay.
And I thought, Black Lives Matter? What about Christian lives? That don't matter? So I thought, I'm going to start a page. And no one really had heard of Black Lives Matter. I saw it online. I saw a couple of things. So I thought, what about Christian lives? No one cares about Christian lives. So I'm going to call it Christian Lives Matter. People started saying things like, oh, do you think only Christian lives matter? I was like, no, it's Christian Lives Matter also is the moral of the page.
Yeah, sure.
And it was more about the persecuted Christians overseas that no one talked about.
Okay.
Started posting about that. Then bang, hey, Charlie, this is happening in Sydney. And then the same-sex campaign. And then bang, this. No. So I started posting stuff that was happening where maybe you're a bit young, but that's when they started the mocking of Christianity in Australia.
When was this? Sorry?
2017.
And in what way do you mean?
Okay, I don't know if you remember in Newtown, they painted a picture, a mural on the wall of Cardinal Pell and Tony Abbott naked or half naked kissing each other.
Yep.
So I posted that up and everyone went down and prayed the rosary out the front of it and some guy randomly went and painted over it.
Oh, yes, the one in Newtown.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually did a video about it not too long ago about Jenny Long, the MP, who called. That was your group.
Yeah.
That was your group of people. Called
So,
you
but
guys out saying that you guys were bigots and
That's right.
throw glitter at the bigots and all of this stuff and whatever. Okay, so that's the,
So Christian Lives Matter was the page I started.
okay, yep.
And we weren't causing trouble, but I'd post stuff up and it'd go viral. And then people, like for example, some guy saw this mural and decided on his own accord to go and paint over it. I don't know who he is, not part of my group.
Okay.
He's just a random guy. I didn't even know if he saw my video or he saw someone else's, because a lot of people were posting, right? So he was, okay, I want to go and paint over it. And then people started going, oh, he's part of Christian Lives Matter. So they started trying to blame me for everything. But really, all I was doing was organising. We organised a rosary at the front of it. We had about 200 boys.
And you were bringing attention to the mockery of Christianity.
That's right.
Okay. Just before you get on, where did this mockery, so you said it started around 2017.
2017.
Where did it come from?
Look, it started back then. I think there was the same-sex campaign.
Oh, okay, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they started, I don't know, it was just, because I was never in the faith, to be honest with you, before that,
You started noticing it more in 2017 strongly after
I was busy gambling and partying. I didn't even know.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't even, for me, Oxford Street was, I'm going to go get drunk and pick up girls on Oxford Street.
Yeah.
And we used to go to the back when we were younger, we used to go to the gay clubs because all the hot girls used to go to the gay clubs so they wouldn't get picked up. So us lebs used to go down to pick up the girls that were going there to not get harassed. So we'll be doing the harassing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was crazy. That's all I ever knew. There was no, he's gay and I'm straight. Who cares? We didn't care.
Right.
And still till now, no one cares about what you do in the bedroom. But when you're mocking our faith, that's where it crosses the line. Right? So we started seeing, Cardinal Pell, leader of the church back then, kissing Tony Abbott being a Catholic, Prime Minister of Australia. I think he was Prime Minister at the time, or he just finished, it was disrespecting Christianity. So
your intentions were to go out with a group of guys to pray. Was it to confront anyone? Was it to...
No.
It was, so what was maybe talk on that.
See,
what was because I know a lot of people misunderstand you. You get a lot of, it seems you've got a lot of enemies on the other side there and all of these things, but it's easy to paint you in a certain picture as though, you said something just very interesting now. You'd go to a gay nightclub, for example, to pick up the hot girls, but you didn't even notice who was gay, you didn't care about that. Whereas you've been made out to be a homophobe and all of these different things in recent times. Tell me about that moment, because it seems that was the first event that you kind of put yourself out there. What were your intentions when you went?
So what you got to understand, the page wasn't about being against any particular group. If anything, it was about defending Christianity. So yes, they're killing Christians in Nigeria. We're going to stand up for them. We're going to bring light to this.
Yeah.
They're blowing up churches in Egypt, Coptic churches. So it wasn't even a Catholic thing. They were Coptics. Bang. So I was getting Christian persecution around the world. And then we started noticing that the persecution here was people mocking our faith. So they open up restaurants and make up burgers with mocking Jesus and ice cream shops and stuff. So I didn't care who they were that was doing it, but I'd bring everyone's attention to it to stop it.
Right.
But some particular group always wants to cry victim, if that makes sense.
But what do you mean by stop it? So what I mean is, because they would on their side be like, you're coming to intimidate us because you're coming into our territory and you're trying to incite, maybe not incite violence, but you're trying to stir the pot, right?
Yep.
But you tell me about what your intentions were when you went there.
So I'll
you took
explain to you.
rosary beads and you took to...
We took rosary beads to go and pray.
Yeah.
Outside this mural of mocking of Christianity.
Yeah.
We didn't care which area it was in.
Yeah.
It
was there, so
you're saying territory, what? Is Australia now territorial?
Yeah, it seems it's become like
Mate,
that. But
I've been eating Italian bowl in Newtown for 30 years since it opened. I've been going to Newtown for many years.
But you can understand from their perspective, they're thinking you're coming into our playground.
I understand, but at the same time, I didn't care because for example, the people killing people in Egypt, in Nigeria, could turn around and say, "Oh, why are you coming into our territory to stop what we're doing?" I don't care. You're killing Christians. I don't care where you are. You're mocking Christians. I don't care where you are. I don't care who you are, who you sleep with, what religion you are. I'm not attacking you. I'm not attacking anybody. I'm standing up for my faith. For you attacking me, I'm defending my faith, and I don't care where it is in the world.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
And I think it's fair because what you were doing there, so what they're trying to do is they're trying to, maybe it seems, paint a picture as though you're coming to stir the pot. Whereas what I saw, and you correct me if I'm wrong, right? But what I saw was you were putting the Christian, you were showing a public display of Christianity by going there in protest and opposition
That's correct.
to what was happening. But what you were doing was the question, and that was praying the rosary.
Okay.
And that's what Christians do. So that's what I want you to talk on, because you can see from their side that they're trying to paint you in this light as though you're trying to stir the pot and piss them off and do all of these things, and that you're making them your enemies. So where were you at that point?
I wasn't even thinking that. I never even thought that. I wasn't the kind of guy who I am now. I'm more calculated. Back then, I was spontaneous. Bang, someone's mocking Christianity.
Okay.
I need to put a stop to this.
Yeah.
I didn't sit there, I better work out what sexuality they are and what religion they are, or are they atheist? I didn't even think about who was doing it. It was more about what they were doing.
Yeah.
And that's the honest truth.
But
Right.
but sorry to push. I just want to push one. When you say put a stop to it, what does that mean to
Okay.
you? Yeah.
Firstly, to pray for them and to show that we have a presence, and there is a lot of us that are offended.
Right.
So instead of them always continuously mocking, okay, so around the same time, I think the same-sex campaign had just won in the vote or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some young boys went and smashed a statue at St. Paul of the Cross in Dulwich Hill.
Yeah.
I
St.
rounded
Peter and
up
St. Paul.
over 1,000 people there on our turf, on our church, a statue that's been smashed the same day that the same-sex campaign. And again, it might not have been LGBT, whatever they are, right? We didn't even say it was. We just said, this is what's happening. Thousands of people, maybe close to 2,000 people came, and we prayed the rosary outside that statue. In that night, we raised money. We bought a new statue. We replaced the statue. We had unity in prayer. We had Bishop Umbers there. We had priests there, and just all these people. And some people were coming very angry, like, we want to find out who did it. And I think they found out who it was. It was just young kids that were drunk.
Yeah.
I don't even think it was anything to do. It's just some young kids that were drunk that did it, because the guy actually done it and posted a photo on his social media.
Yeah.
So again, it was Christian Lives Matter. So we were going to and after that, we never saw anything like that for a long time. Then restaurants would do stuff, or for example, at one stage, what's his name? Messina Ice Cream. They made fun of the ice cream. I don't know what sexuality the owner of the place is. I think he's an Italian Catholic, to be honest with you.
They made fun of what?
The ice cream, they named the ice cream some, like, mocking of Jesus.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So what we did, everybody started giving them bad reviews. Everyone started going online and saying, we're going to stop eating your ice cream. And there was such a big backlash that they actually pulled out an apology, and they took down the names of the ice creams.
Right.
So we won that little battle.
Right. So from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you're not after any particular group, but what you're
100%.
doing is you're trying to call out Christian persecution
That's
and
correct.
mockery, regardless of where
That's
it is.
correct.
Yeah, I understand.
And then there was things like, so for example, there was a piece of art in Liverpool Council. They put a cartoon picture of Jesus, like a Daffy Duck or something, on the cross. And this was going to win the art in Liverpool
Awards.
Council.
Yeah.
So we posted it up, and everyone started complaining and ringing the council and whatever. And they actually took it out of the council art gallery. And even they had an uprising inside the council saying, how dare you, this is art. So they had an internal fight inside the council. But we stopped this piece of art mocking Christ.
Sounds familiar to the claim at the Divine Playhouse.
Yeah,
when
but
they
guess
said-
what? Guess what happens? Someone in America gets a hold of it and starts commenting and saying things like, you Christians come to LA and we'll see how we're going to shoot yous and hang yous and skin yous alive. Christians need to be skinned alive. and they were posting things like that. And then they started saying, we're anti-LGBT. I don't even know how LGBT's got any links to do this art. I don't even know who the artist is. But I think maybe possibly the artist could have been linked somehow. But it's like they always claim to be victim. If that makes sense.
Okay.
I didn't. It wasn't even about I didn't even know who the artist was. It was like some person mocking Christianity. But they always just twist it to, you know. And this is what we were doing. And even recently, probably last year, there was a female lady in probably down the south coast. She had like 150,000 followers. Her page was avocado something, and she was selling rosary beads. At the end of the rosary bead was a spoon, and it was a mirror. So what they would do, that was a mirror,
Right.
and that was a spoon.
Uh-huh.
The spoon was for cocaine to be snorted, and the mirror you could see up your nose. And they were selling rosary beads for cocaine use.
Who was doing this?
Some lady had a page called Avocado something.
Okay. In
So-
Sydney.
She was in New South Wales. I was in Lebanon. So I posted her page up
Yep.
and said, we need to stop this page. Everyone report her page. So everyone started reporting her page. And then she started claiming death threats and Christian Lives Matter is against LGBT. You're a female. You've got a kid. I don't even know you're LGBT. She's not even gay.
Yeah.
I don't know how it got linked to being LGBT. But they all jumped to support her to say that I'm attacking her.
Yeah.
What happens? The fool goes to the police, not knowing that I went to the police anyway because she's doing illegal activity. So she went to the police and pretty much dobbed herself in. So TikTok and all that took her page down. She's selling products for drug use,
Right.
like illegal activity. But she's crying victim that we ruined her business. If that's the kind of business you're doing, I'm happy to close that business down.
So yeah, from everything I'm hearing from you, it's sounding as though you are really taking an effort, and this sounds like why maybe you've become so popular, is that people are sick of seeing Christians or Christianity being mocked.
Yep.
And you are taking action by exposing these people. So all you're calling for, it sounds like, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is stop mocking Christianity.
That's right.
Stop persecuting Christians. Not attacking a specific group. You don't have an issue with any specific group. Is
Everybody,
that fair to say?
100%. Anybody stop mocking Christianity. Doesn't matter. Even, for example, I think the guy that owned Messina is Italian, and I think he's a like a fallen away Catholic, or I don't know. Maybe he's a Catholic, not practicing. So am I against Catholics when I'm a Catholic myself? Like, do you know what I mean?
What do you say to somebody who says, free speech? Why can't I mock Christianity? Like, for example, you have people that mock the other side, whatever the other side is, but anyone at all, and that might be okay. Why isn't it okay for somebody to express their freedom of speech and mock Christianity?
I've always said, in my view, hate speech isn't free speech. That's my take on it, right? But at the same time, if any free speech was free speech, then why would they bring out the anti-Semitism laws or the hate speech laws? For what reason? If there's no such thing as hate speech, right? And if anybody said anything against other groups, you could get locked up for it. Why is that? So it's got to be one rule for everybody, not just cherry picking.
So are you for the hate speech laws, or are you just out of curiosity?
Well, unfortunately, from what I understand, the hate speech laws don't really protect Christians. They only protect everybody else. So I don't know too much about it. From what I've seen, if there were true hate speech laws, I'd be up for a lot of defamation charges against people who have done hate speech towards me. I wish these hate speech laws applied for everybody, because I'd be taking a lot of people to court, because there's been a lot of hate speech towards me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And to our community.
Okay, so let's suppose, I just want to explore like this idea, because the hate speech thing for me has been one of the biggest things that have really ticked me off in Australia, to be honest, especially after they introduced the new ones recently, because we've always had similar laws in the past, but it's like the Albanese government just wanted to sweep whatever happened under the rug, put up a front to be like, look, we're doing something about it, but they've just made life harder for everyone, like including you and I who speak out, because they're just using it as an opportunity to catch us out. It sounds to me like what you're saying is they've only introduced it for a certain segment of society.
That's right.
When it comes to Christianity's being offended or experiencing mockery, they clearly don't, and we saw it with the Divine Playhouse.
Yes.
They're not really doing much about it. They're waiting for the hype.
The government's given out a grant for it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right, which was nuts. But let's imagine that the hate speech laws did apply to Christians and it applied to everyone, any sort of hate at all. Would you support it?
100%.
Okay.
Because the government would have shut down this Divine Playhouse. The organisers of the Divine Playhouse will probably be locked up or they'll be charged or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Everybody will be protected. If the laws applied for everybody and they were really trying to protect people, I'm all for it. But you can't be cherry picking. And again, I always say no one should be mocking any religion. Yeah. No one should be mocking anyone's sexuality. Simple.
See, I have to say, I think I understand like the heart of what you're saying, but I have a bit of a difference of opinion here, right? I don't mind hearing people mock I should say that again. I hate it. I don't like it. It really makes me uncomfortable to hear people mocking Christianity. But for me, what I say is, as soon as we introduce hate speech laws, who defines hate? You know what I mean? We're relying on the government to tell us what hate is and what it means and where it applies and things like that. But I understand the heart of what you're saying, which is I agree with, which is there needs to be an equal expectation among
100%.
everybody, and we're not seeing that, which is why it leads us to think things like, should we introduce laws that police what people can and can't say? We as a society should just not be saying these things anyway. We don't need laws to be put in place to protect us. So I agree with the heart of what you're saying 100% there. But I just hate these hate speech laws. There you go. I hate these hate speech laws because my issue is who the heck defines what hate is? How do we know?
Well, look, there's a lot of things that have happened. So I'll give you an example. I don't know if you were around during that Belfield incident. So about 3 years ago, and I say this slightly, there was what some would call the LGBT Olympics in Sydney. It was about...
Didn't even hear about this. Yeah.
They don't call it Olympics. I don't know what it's called. What was it called? Something to do with 1 month, Pride Month. But it's like the whole world came to Sydney to celebrate.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It is like an Olympics,
but
but just for Pride or whatever it is, right? 30 days, non-stop of...
In Belfield?
No, it was in Sydney.
Oh, it was in Sydney.
Right? So at that time, they had churches in the city, like it was an Anglican church that had rainbow steps, and they had a mass in Glebe with an LGBT mass for only LGBT. So it's a Catholic mass, but only LGBT. A couple of Lebanese guys that I knew went down and they got knocked back from going to mass.
Yeah.
Because they weren't LGBT, like do you know what I mean? Work that out. Anyway, so I was posting a lot of this stuff and they had a big painting of a mural near Wynyard Station of this man semi-naked with like a hairy man dressed as a teddy bear, and to do something with some sexual thing or whatever. And again, I posted about it, and some guys went down and painted over it and whatever, and Andrew Bogut did a post about it, a few people posting about it, and it went viral, and they started saying, Christian Lives Matter, attacking them, which it wasn't again. There was even one video, a guy went and recorded the video.
The LGBTQ community said that this was a
Christian Lives Matter attacking them because some guy went and painted over the mural. So anything that happens...
Were they involved with you at all?
No, I don't even know who it was. But people send me the videos and I post them up.
Right.
So there was one guy, he actually, I think he was like a Protestant preacher. He went to the Anglican church or Uniting Church in the city that had rainbow-coloured steps. And he went and started talking to the pastor who was a female minister or something. And he was arguing with her on the video about the faith. How can you be supporting this being a Christian? And you could see he was like a bit of an evangelical. And I posted the video because everyone sent it around. And what do they say? Charlie Bakhos debating, they basically said, I'm the guy in the video. When I'm not even recording the video, it wasn't even me. It's not even my voice. So anything that I posted, they assumed that it was me behind the camera, and they would blame me for anything that happened.
Why do you think they've made an enemy out of you?
Because there was no one else speaking out.
Right.
A lot of people speaking out now. You see, like back then, there was no Chucky, there was no Sam Bamford, there was all these guys weren't around back then. Okay, I've been doing it for 10 years. I stood up during the COVID times as well. So they started putting stuff in the newspapers about me being conspiracy theorist, anti-vaxxer, domestic terrorist. They did all this stuff in the newspapers, Sydney Morning Herald, to try to make me look like an evil person, right? And the worst thing that had happened at the time was all this stuff was happening, and then they were going out to Town Hall Station with cards, pamphlets, Charlie Bakhos, Christian Lives Matter, with my photo saying this guy hates LGBT and he's a terrorist and he's this, and on the pamphlets are giving them out at Town Hall. So they were just targeting me.
Right.
They even had, during the incident back when they did the mural of Tony Abbott, they put a change.org petition. Charlie Bakhos, Christian Lives Matter, calls to arms. They quoted that I called people to bring weapons to Newtown.
And so how did they?
Please, if you're recording this, record this from beginning to end and don't cut it out.
But how did they get this?
Because I quoted Saint Padre Pio. I said Saint Padre Pio says the weapon of our times today is the rosary.
Oh, okay.
And they used that, saying that Charlie Bakhos is calling to arms, telling people to bring weapons to Newtown.
Right.
Not the rosary. They said So they went to the Enmore Newtown police. They told everyone to go down and report that they're fearing their lives because of me. So what I did, I rang the police station and explained it to them so that they copped all the phone calls, but they already knew what was going on. But so they were targeting me. So this is like what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of defamation cases out there against what they've done to me, you know? But I just don't want the headache. I'm not here for division. I just try to move on. So what happened at St. Michael's Belfield, when they were giving out the pamphlets about me at Town Hall Station, they turned around and there was a Mark Latham doing a talk at St. Michael's Belfield. Mm-hmm. So one of the guys said, can you organise a rosary outside? I'll organise a rosary. And they said they're going to come, them said they're going to come down, protest the rosary and protest outside the church.
At St. Michael's.
St. Michael's. So a group of...
Protest against who? Mark Latham?
Mark Latham and me. Because I'm a bigot and Mark Latham's there, and I don't know why, but they
so the news was that Mark Latham was coming to do a talk, and Charlie Bakhos, Christian Lives Matter,
is
will
back
be
in
there,
it or something.
And they're going to protest against that.
All I did was I promoted to do a prayer outside before it starts.
Okay.
And to protect the church, because we heard that they're going to come down and attack the church.
Yep.
2,000 men show up. Do I know all of them? No. There was men from everywhere. There was men who I've never seen in church in my life. There was men who were just so fed up with, you are now coming to Belfield. You were coming to a Catholic church. You were coming to attack us. And they were putting posts up on their line attacking Christianity like they always do, like making fun of Christianity with their posters and stuff. So a lot of people just came. And I started the rosary and I started calling a lot of people to come in. And some men said, mate, we don't want to pray. We're not here to pray. Don't tell us what to do. I couldn't even control. So what can I do? We're going to pray. Who wants to pray, come and pray.
Right.
We prayed. Bang. 10 of these transgenders, whatever they were, came down. Yeah. Apparently they broke the cross and they had signs mocking Christianity.
Oh, I remember
and
this.
There was an
Is this
uproar.
when there was
cops
thousands of people on the street. They were blocking the streets off. Okay. Yeah.
So then there was a big fiasco. To be honest with you, I didn't see what was happening because I was still inside the church grounds. I didn't go out because I knew that if I just wanted to keep as many people praying than any sins of violence. So some stuff happened there. The media came. The media loves to jump on that stuff. Yeah. And that's when they started jumping on that I'm a domestic terrorist. And then, police started questioning me. And
is that because they felt that you organised all of these guys to come? Is that what they...
I think, again, I just think they're
just trying to find...
If you think about it, like you said before, we're going to their tour. They're coming to a Catholic church in Belfield, they don't live in the area.
Yeah.
What do they want people to do? People were coming just because they lived in Belfield. They wanted to protect, It wasn't like us where we went down and prayed the rosary, because we didn't go down holding signs, making fun of anybody. We just prayed the rosary in Newtown in front of. If we were mocking them at the church, I could possibly understand them coming down saying why, but there was nothing to do. It wasn't even about them, and they're coming out of their area to mock Christianity at a church.
Yeah, and what I guess what you're saying, and it's true. Like the actions were different to the actions. Like you guys went there praying the rosary. From memory, they were, like you said, breaking crosses.
Yeah.
They were like they had like
Offensive
mockery.
mockery.
Offensive pictures, things like that. So it's the intention was clearly to come and instigate.
That's
some
right.
sort of issues.
But they always turn around and be the victim, right? So they came down, all this stuff happened, and then the media jumped on again. Charlie Bakhos, Christian Lives Matter, terrorist organisation, domestic terrorists, anti-vax. I don't know what vaccines got to do with it. Conspiracy theorists, and between you and I, all these conspiracies have come true. So the stance that I had before, where I was, online educating people about the truth, has now all come out. So I was standing up back during COVID. I was doing a lot during COVID. I was in Lebanon for 11 months. I was helping people on the ground in Lebanon, giving them medication and treatments of, basically saved hundreds of lives with doctors' help in Lebanon for free, using the people with the contacts that we had. And when I came to Australia, we weren't allowed to talk about any of these stuff because it was illegal, because they wanted everyone to do it the other way around.
Yeah.
So everything that we spoke about then was banned. We couldn't talk about it. Any video I put, they deleted. They blocked my pages. And now it's all coming out that everything we said was true.
That's right. Yeah. Man, I was even fooled a little by it back then. Like I think it's the biggest catastrophe that's ever happened in us, or at least in my lifetime. And I just find it mind-boggling that it's just swept under the rug now and not spoken about anymore. But that'll, I think, all come to light more and more.
And so you ask, where do people, what do they follow Charlie Bakhos for? More than one thing, yeah?
Yeah.
I helped thousands of people in Lebanon during the pandemic. People in Australia had cousins that were dying and were ringing me, and I was bringing them oxygen machines and vitamins and ivermectin, all that stuff in Lebanon. I was supplying people through church groups and through doctors and stuff, and getting them hospital treatment if they needed for free.
Yeah.
So I helped a lot of people in Lebanon who were related to people in Australia. I was bringing a lot of attention to the lies that was out there during COVID. I never got vaxxed. I was explaining to people what I knew. So I stood up for people back then. I stood up for Christianity, for churches getting hammered overseas. I stood up for Christianity when they're getting attacked in Australia. When the Beirut blast happened in Lebanon, I raised $450,000 in 30 days on Facebook.
Really?
For the Beirut blast, through the charity.
Wow.
I went to Lebanon for 11 months, I got an exemption, and was on the ground helping people who were blasted by the bomb. So people saw me distributing food boxes, renovating houses, paying for hospital fees. I was doing all this for free. So I've helped families of people in Lebanon. That's why the Lebanese have a connection to me.
Yeah.
So,
man, that is enormous to be able to raise money in a short period of time. But I think in addition to that, the realization of how many people that you have influence over, or that you have, that at least your audience, the people that follow you, I think, like, I'm just imagining from the New South Wales police perspective and all that, these guys are clearly interested in you because of that level of influence that you have over people, right? Like the fact that you said you just posted something and then 2,000 men, you don't even know who they are, and 2,000 men immediately just come off the back of maybe one post.
That's right.
That's a massive, huge level of influence. I spoke to Chocky about this last week. I said, with great power comes great responsibility. And he said, before he posts anything, he sits there and he thinks, and he's overwhelmed by how many people, the numbers that actually listen to him, and how much of an impact and difference it can have. So talk to me about what goes on in your mind before, you've got a large following, but in addition to the following that you have, the videos go beyond your following. It goes like to hundreds of thousands, probably millions of people. What goes on in your mind before you go ahead and post something online?
Well, mine's a bit similar, but at the same time, because I've been doing it for 10 years, I don't really think too much about the influence I have. I just try to do everything from my heart, which is from the beginning.
Right.
But now, because of all the persecution I've faced of the police and this and that, before every single post, I sit there. Every single post and every single message. If I've ever messaged you on social media, before I even message you, you know what goes in my head? Okay, this message is going to be screenshotted. They're going to send this message to the bishop, to my priest in Lebanon, to my wife, to Channel 7, to Daily Telegraph, and they're going to post it all over social media. So whatever you say, Charlie, this message is going everywhere. So everything I say, that's why I know I don't mock any other faiths. I don't mock any other groups, because I know what I'm saying. I don't want to say something that's going to be offensive or rude,
taken the wrong way,
or it's going to get me in trouble legally.
Right.
50% of the time, I ring one of my mates who's a lawyer. Am I allowed to say this? Am I allowed to do this?
Right.
You know, before when I went on Carl Stefanovic, I rang my lawyer. Is there anything I can get? He goes, mate, just don't talk about this and don't talk about that and do this, and that's it. So for me, I try my best to not get myself and my community in trouble.
Right.
So that's why I can basically say, go and find me one post where I actually mocked LGBT or mocked this religion.
Yeah.
Go and find one. You won't find one.
Yeah. I think this is the problem that so many people are having today that are doing online content creation, is that, like you said, they take snippets and then they post it out for views, but then it creates an enemy out of somebody who has maybe sincere intentions. And like from what I'm hearing from you so far, you've wanted to go out there and expose Christian persecution and call people to draw attention to it, so that people can support our cause and all of these things, which there's nothing wrong with that. The other thing is to get people to do something for once, right? But in a good way, not inciting violence, but saying, Christians, like, you want to put money towards something, put it towards this good cause, or you want to do something with your life.
Showing a different way.
Show it, yeah. Do something for once, right? Which I think is great. It's like, because people sometimes they need that. They have good intentions, but they need somebody. That's why we put a lot of onus on our leaders, right? When people say that, I know what they mean. It's like sometimes you want somebody to lead you so that you can stand up and walk and do something, right? And I think that's what people are seeing in you on the Christian side, is Charlie is motivating us to finally do what we want to do, which is make a difference.
That's right.
Okay. However, on the other side, what's happening is people are taking snippets of what you're saying.
That's right.
Because they don't like what you're saying, and they know it'll get. Maybe they don't even not like what you're saying, but they at least know that it's going to get a lot of views. So they'll take it, they'll put it out there, and then they're creating more division between, like Christians and the LGBTQ community, or whoever it may be, other religions and all of these different things. So it's sad to see that just for the sake of views, people are creating more and more division. But I don't hear from you in this podcast that you hate these people or dislike these people or anything like that.
Sorry to say, but cut you off. But
yeah, please.
You see how direct I am. If I was, I'd say it.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of guy. I told the guy, mate, I don't want your money. Get out of here. I'm a very direct person. If I hated someone, I'll tell them.
Yeah.
So I'm being very clear that but I don't hate them.
So that's good that you've said it, right? But off the back of what else you've said, which is after one post, 2,000 men, potentially maybe even more, can come, and you don't even know who these people are, right? The media are waiting for an opportunity for these guys to stuff up so that they can paint you in a bad light.
And they've tried that a few times. They've tried that.
What do you think that, I'm just genuinely curious, because I'm now entering this space and I've got to be careful myself. But what do you think we can do to protect ourselves from these people? I know personally that you don't encourage that. Why? I have my own person. I've only met you very recently. But with the whole Divine Playhouse thing, I did a video where I said, we're going to the protest. Guys, we don't want any macho men. We don't want anything like that. We don't want issues. We don't want violence. And you shared it on your story, which shows that this is the message that you support.
Of course.
Now, if somebody came out there and caused violence and all of that stuff, that shouldn't fall on me or you or anyone who's going there to peacefully protest. But just in this like day and age where everyone is just jumping on short snippets to try and demonize people and further create division so that it's like a more partisan society, like what do you think, is it our responsibility as creators, as content creators to
It shouldn't be, but it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So what I've done, from my experiences, for example, I set up WhatsApp groups. So for the Divine Playhouse, set up a WhatsApp group. In 3 days, we've got 1,000 people on there.
Right.
I've got heaps of WhatsApp groups with 900, 800 people on a WhatsApp group. And I make them, I'm the only admin, I'm the only person that can send the messages. And people get from our community, who are you, Hitler? You don't let anyone speak. It's only you. Why don't you let anyone else have a voice? Because I've had the experiences back during those Belfield times where I had a WhatsApp group that was open and people writing stupid stuff. We should do this and do that.
Right.
So what's going to happen? I blocked the pages. People set up their own WhatsApp groups saying really sick and stupid stuff that was really attacking, and they screenshotted them and put them on their Facebook pages saying, Charlie Bakhos, Christian Lives Matter, look what they want to do to our community. This person's not even on my group. He's got his own group. He's got nothing to do with me, but they just pretended that he's part of my group. So what I'm trying to say is I go through and delete messages and comments all the time. What happened at the Divine Playhouse, I can tell you there was more than 200 people that didn't go, that I spoke to or heard of or knew someone, and they said, we're angry, we're this and that. And I said, don't go. What do you mean? Don't want you there.
Right.
If you're angry and you can't contain yourself, look, I'm just frustrated, mate, don't go. And they didn't come. Hundreds of people didn't come because I told them not to come because we don't want that. So you got to stand up. And yes, it's not my responsibility, but I believe it is. If I do have a big voice and I delete comments and I message people and I get people that want to be angry and stuff, and I say, you can't be like that. That's not Christ-like. And I see comments on my pages sometimes, right? For example, the Divine Playhouse, what they're doing to this old deconsecrated church. And the comments will be like, why don't they do this to this religion? It's got nothing to do with other religions. So I delete the comments. Or I reach out to them and say, what's it got to do with this person and that person? We're talking about what these people are doing to Christianity. It's got nothing to do with everyone else. So I just try to keep the peace as much as I can.
Yeah.
But you know what's really concerning to me? And this is what I was trying to talk about in the beginning, about the Cronulla riots.
Yeah.
I think we're in a much, much, much more volatile and more dangerous than Cronulla riots right now.
Really? Talk to me about that.
Okay.
Why do you think that?
Because the amount of comments and messages that I see,
Yep.
and I think to myself, so a perfect example was Liam Aquilina, who was very well-spoken, decent Catholic guy, was interviewed for 9 minutes by Channel 10.
Yeah.
9 minutes. I could not find a fault of what he said. They took the 8 seconds. The 8 seconds that they took, they basically asked him, why did somebody put a St. Michael prayer? Who's St. Michael? And he said to them, I don't know why they put a St. Michael prayer, but St. Michael is the archangel. And he basically recited the St. Michael prayer. All they took was to protect us from the evil one. And they twisted that and put it on there that basically he's saying everyone from the Divine Playhouse is evil.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is Channel 10 now, or Channel 10 Plus, whatever that station was, took that 8 seconds and they're inciting hatred. They're making people from the LGBT community feel like they are hated by others where there's no, it's fabricated, it's not even true. So they're the ones inciting this, they're stirring the pot.
Yep.
They should be held accountable. They should be charged. The police and the government should be investigating people like that who trigger.
I agree with you 100%.
And this is what's happening. And why am I frustrated right now? Because I've seen it so many times that, for example, that Jenny Long or whatever she was, right? After the St. Michael's incident, and the police were coming back and forth with me, I sent my wife overseas. They put my daughter online. They took my photo of my daughter. They put it online.
Who did?
Some people from that community. Right. And the police were investigating and asking all these questions. And I lost my job, everything, right? That's how I started the podcast. Because people said, you know what, just do what you got to do online and don't worry about it and we'll support you. And that's how I started the podcast. So I left my job and I sent my wife to Lebanon. So go to Lebanon and I went and lived with my parents for a few months. One night, it was winter, I'm at home. There was a guy called David Lynn. He's a Protestant pastor. He preaches in America and Canada, and you see him, he argues with the LGBT and other religions, and he baptizes them in the beach, and he's very in their face. Anyway, he comes to Sydney, and he's a pastor. He actually mocks Catholics. He hates Catholics too.
Right.
So I'm someone who's not going to stand with him because he mocks my church.
Right.
What does he do? He comes to Sydney and he's going down Oxford Street preaching and this. He can do whatever he wants. Goes down to Newtown Square where there's a transgender flag and stuff. Yep. He goes down on a Saturday night in Newtown with 100 people preaching and basically arguing with people in the street. And they start putting videos. Christian Lives Matter. Jenny Long was in another country, puts out a video. Christian Lives Matter has come down to Newtown. Anyone fearing their lives, we've put a 1-800 hotline number or call your closest police station. We know how dangerous Christian Lives Matter can be and how the community are fearing their lives. What's it got to do with me? What's this guy got to do with me? So what do? I ring one of the police that's involved in Newtown to let him know that I'm at home sleeping and this is what's happened.
Oh, wow, okay.
He goes, are you sure you're sleeping at home? Can you prove it? Like, are you joking? I'm ringing you. You didn't even know what's going on. I'm ringing you to tell you in good faith that this is happening. It's got nothing with me. And so you can maybe get someone down there to make sure nothing happens. And you're already blaming me when I'm the one ringing you. And he's I said, mate, you can track my phone. This is the address I'm at and you can see where I'm at. I'm not in Newtown. You got the technology and I'll video call you if you want. Oh, no, it's okay. So this Jenny Long fabricated some scare tactics to put fear in her community from me when I've done nothing at all. There's got to be some sort of charge. There's got to be someone held accountable for this.
I know.
This is not acceptable.
It's crazy because, like, the average person, like the average Christian, the average member of society on any opposing side, we all respect each other when it comes down to it. But you're right. You're touching on something important. The people at the top, the media, all of these guys, they're always stirring the pot and they're creating further and further division, right? And then it creates frustration in the average person. And then it really just fosters that like anger and misunderstanding and all this among each other. But my question to you is, why do you think that these guys hate Christianity so much? I'm talking about the politicians that you've mentioned and others.
Unfortunately, they hate the truth.
The media, things like that. Why? Yeah, but in particular, Christianity. Yeah,
because it's the truth. I believe it's the truth. So they hate the truth, right? And they're against the truth. Again, this agenda, what they're creating people to turn on them, and they're creating a situation where they're living in fear. Their leaders are creating this situation. Them walking around with a dildo in a nun's outfit as a man, they're making all this stuff happen. And then they turn around saying, oh, why is everyone against us? Let me ask you a question. If you knew of somebody who's a gay man, has a boyfriend, lives with his boyfriend, doesn't dress around in nun outfits, doesn't go to these events, he's just a gay guy. He believes that he was born that way. And he goes to work, a 9-to-5 job, and his boyfriend works in a bank, and they live together, and he goes for dinner in Leichhardt, and he goes shopping in Parramatta, and just lives a normal life as everyone else does. Goes to work and goes to dinner, but in the bedroom he sleeps with a man instead of sleeping with a girl. How do you think this guy is going to feel when these guys are painting this picture that Christians hate them and this and that, and this guy might be a person whose family is Christian or might be from a Lebanese Maronite background and is close to his Lebanese friends and cousins and doesn't bring up this conversation, and now all of a sudden he's going to feel, what do you think he's going to feel? Awkward? Why? Not because of me, because of what these Channel 10 and the media has portrayed, which is not even true.
It's like they're forcing you to pick a side.
Yes.
Almost, aren't they? Yeah.
That's what's scary. That's what's scary. And that's why I say it's worse than
the Cronulla riots.
I'll tell you why
right?
worse than Cronulla riots, because that's just one part. Then you've got the anti-migration and anti-Indian, and I want everyone to be Australian, and if you don't support Gaza and you don't support Palestine and you have an Australian flag, or you don't have an Australian flag, or do you celebrate Australia Day, they've caused division in 64 places, man.
Yeah.
Religion versus religion, sex versus sex. The census has come out now and tells you to choose what you were born and what are you now. Like, there's so many different. Before, during the Cronulla riots, wasn't even Lebanese, Aussie. It was if you looked Lebanese or looked non-ethnic. Looked ethnic versus white Australian. That's all it was. You know. Now there's division in 64 different places, and they're going hard. And there's social media. There wasn't social media back then like now. So people are. There's like so many different people creating division. It's scary.
That's why I think it's so important for people like you and I, you way more because my audience is still very small at the moment, but just in general, it's up to people like us to try and foster reconciliation, because at the same time, while we're trying to do this, you've got the big guys who are trying to cause more and more division, right? And like, they're not going to stop doing it. They've been doing it forever, but now because of social media, like you say, they're being exposed more and more for it. But they're causing, it's like they're poking the bear. They're poking. Then people get pissed off and frustrated. They voice their expressions, and then they're in the background. It's like the puppet with the strings is like, now they're pissed off. Now let's create Channel 10. Let's create a story to make it as though these guys think that they're evil. And then now these guys who have been called evil are like, look at these weird religious people who think that we're evil. We're just average people. The point is that the everyday Australian is an average person, but you've got these powerful people behind the scenes that are just pulling the strings and making people more and more upset, to the point of, we've seen it around the world, in Lebanon in particular, civil war. This is what happens. People in positions of power, they pull the strings until they cause frustration among the average person, and then it creates a civil war. Is this what they're trying to do here in Australia?
Looks like they are. I mean,
it's pretty scary.
Even what we're talking about now, do you know how many times gay people have messaged me on Instagram and stuff? Most of the time, it's not attacks.
Yeah.
It's actually, they're reaching out saying, at first they come off, why do you hate us for?
Yep.
And all of a sudden, when they see just a conversation, sometimes I actually pick up the phone and call them through the app.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but some of them just through chats. The conversation within 5-10 minutes goes from, why do you hate us? To, oh, okay, is that how you think? Oh, okay. Oh, you know what? I've always, wanted to look into Christianity, but I've always thought you hate us and this and that. And all of a sudden they understand that, hey, we don't hate anybody.
Yeah.
Like I had a guy once, he kept messaging me on Instagram trying to trigger. Jesus is this and fairy tale in the sky, and he just kept trying to trigger me, and I didn't respond. And I was in Lebanon, and once I was in Baalbek, and it was bad reception, and he kept messaging. I said, you know what? I'm just going to ring this guy up. So I rang him up, and he answered. Is this Charlie Bakhos? I'm like, yeah, I'm calling you. Are you going to kill me? Are you going to find out where I live? Oh, I'm just so scared. And he was freaking out. I said, brother, I'm in Lebanon. I'm in Baalbek. You're in Australia. How do you know I'm in Australia? And he was freaking out. I said, brother, I'm calling you from an app. I don't even know what your number is. Calm down. What do you want from me? You have non-stop messaging me. 20 messages in a row. I'm driving. I'm in Baalbek. There's no reception here in Lebanon. And I thought I'd just ring you to clarify a few things. What are you scared of? What's your problem? Why you keep messaging these? Why you keep mocking Christianity? Oh, you guys are this and pedo this and this and that, and your fairy tale in the sky and whatever. I said, just calm down. Can we have a conversation? And be honest with me. He's okay. And he calmed down. I turned around and said, I want to ask you a question. He goes, yeah. I go, do you believe in the tooth fairy? He goes, no. I go, do you believe in Santa Claus? He goes, no. I go, do you think that I believe in Santa? Be honest. Do you think I believe in Santa Claus? He goes, of course not. I go, do you think I believe in a tooth fairy? He goes, no. I go, but if your little nephew or niece, 4 years old, came to you and said, oh, you know, I lost my tooth. Is the tooth fairy going to give me $20? Would you tell your 3-year-old niece that the tooth fairy doesn't exist? He's probably not. Why not? I don't want to upset them. I'll just let them believe in that fairy tale. I go, okay. So if I'm a Christian and I believe in this fairy tale in the sky, why don't you just let me believe in my fairy tale? Why does it hurt you if I believe in something that's not even real, according to what you think? And he goes, you know what? I never thought of it that way. I said, why are you attacking me? If I believe in this fairy tale in the sky, it's not even real. Why does it worry you? Just let me believe in my fairy tale.
Yeah.
He goes, wow, I never thought of it that way. He said, you don't hate us. I said, can you show me where I hated you? And he calmed down. He goes, oh, do you mind if I call you another time and talk? I'd like to ask you about God and stuff because I've always thought about it, but I always thought that Christians hate us. And bro, he opened up and he wanted to learn, like he wanted to just know about the Bible and stuff. But the conversation went from, do you want to murder me, to just the two guys having a conversation. Didn't ask him about what he does in the bedroom and vice versa.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
But I don't blame him. It's what's out there online and it's the community, the agenda that's pushing
creating
this.
fear.
That's the scary part.
Yeah. I think it's up to us because if we just keep, I mean, you see it now, the mainstream media are becoming less and less relevant anyway, but they still have a level of influence and power and they're still stirring the pot. But I just think it's so important for people like you and me to like make clear to these people, to everyone, our perspective, like even with the Divine Playhouse thing, when like my videos started to kind of go out and things like that, and I was getting messages from that community too, and I was engaging in real dialogue with them on the chat, and I think they saw pretty clearly that I don't hate them, I have nothing against them, but I was calling out something that was what shouldn't have been happening, and they started, in the end, they were like, look, I would say to them, can you just see from my perspective why that's offensive? I'm not saying that, you shouldn't have the right to criticize. I'm just talking to you as a human now. Do you see why that would be offensive to me? And they're like, yes, I do. And then I said, well, what's your perspective? And they're like, look, my perspective is that this is our way of expressing ourselves because of such and such and our previous experiences in life, which, by the way, were real. Like these people that were reaching out to me had really sad experiences. They were like assaulted as a child and all of these different things. And like, I don't know what it's like to be, assaulted as a child. So I don't know what type of reaction or response I would have had. And I'm not saying that that's the right one. 100% it's not. But then when you start to have that human interaction and conversation with one another, you start to realize not everyone is evil.
Of course not. Of course not. Even they're not
who
evil.
Who is it that's causing us to have? And it's them, right? And I think that's why it's so important for people like you and I and anyone else on the online space to keep standing up for the truth, stand for truth, okay? But at the same time, that's it. Stand for truth. But at the same time, have real conversations with the other side. I've invited some of these people on here. No one has accepted yet, but I'd love to sit down and have a conversation, even for you to sit down there and for them to say, and I'll sit in the middle, we'll make space, and for us to dialogue so that everyone can see.
The thing is, if you're getting the right person on who's genuine, yes, but the ones who are running the agenda, they don't want to be part of it. They don't want to be.
For sure.
Yes,
I wouldn't invite them anyway,
Yeah.
to be honest. I'm talking more about real members of society, of Christians, and of, in this conversation we've been talking about the LGBTQ community, someone from there to see, oh, these people don't actually hate us, and same vice versa. But it's we have a common enemy, and that common enemy are the people who are trying to create more division among us. I just think that's the most. It's hard. It's hard to. It's
hard, but I'll be honest with you. I actually think what I've been seeing the last few months with social media, to be honest with you, sad to say this, but what the media has done and this agenda, they've actually probably made some people hate them now. That's Like I'm seeing people online
Yeah, yeah,
with hateful comments. I'm like, that's not Christian.
yeah, yeah.
And these people are getting that angry, and people have reached out to me saying, Charlie, I'm so angry. I'm like, this guy doesn't even go to church, right? He's ringing me saying, and a few people, I'm like, what are you angry about? How they're mocking Jesus and this and that. I'm sick of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, calm down, man. It's been happening for 2,000 years. No, it can't happen. So the people getting angry.
Yeah.
And like, for me, I feel sorry for it more than angry. I'm not angry. I feel that these people are lost mocking another faith.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? But people who don't know get angry. And this anger is not healthy for both sides, for all sides, for Australia.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm Australian born. I'm for Australia. I consider myself an Aussie. When I go to Lebanon, I've been there 10, 12 times. Every time I'm in Lebanon, I'm an Aussie.
There's the Aussie exact same.
You know,
Yeah,
here comes the Aussie.
yeah.
And I'm an Aussie. I'm an Australian with Lebanese parents, and I'm a Christian. Like it's not, and I love Australia, but there's so many people that they don't want to hear that. They want the division. That's the scary part.
Yeah. What next for you? So you've spoken to me about, how you've gotten to the point that you've gotten to. You're clearly gaining more and more influence, right? I think you have really good intentions. I think there are people that are trying to paint maybe you as, in one way, domestic terrorist, whatever you were saying that these guys were doing.
They once called me a Christian Taliban.
Oh, okay. Well, but like it's obvious that you have good intentions, and what's also true is that you're gaining more and more influence, right? What do you have planned for? And by the way, please subscribe to Stand for Truth podcast.
Thank
for
you.
Anyone who hasn't, I really want to support Charlie because you're my second guest, and right from the beginning, I really appreciate that you've come on to support me in the early stages.
I was going to be first, but you got someone bigger than me.
Hey, that's not true, man. It just worked out. The timing worked out. But nah, come on.
I'm only story.
But so really, you're growing. The podcast is growing. Your influence is growing. What do you have planned for yourself, and what's the purpose of all of this?
Look, I really don't plan. My plans are always in God's hands.
Yep.
And I'm not just saying that to sound holy or anything, but I actually truly, every time I pray, I ask God, and me and my wife, we sit and pray, we ask God to guide us. If it's to have more children, if it's your will, God, if it's to grow a business or to grow the podcast, or for my podcast, I've always wanted the podcast to go more overseas. I've got guests that want to come on from America and stuff. I mean, if it was up to me, I'd love to expand worldwide. But again, I want God to put me in the spots that he thinks I'm going to progress and bring more people to Christ. If I believe God thinks that if I'm going to be in America, it's going to bring more people to Christ in America, then send me there. Yeah. If it's to stay in Australia or to move to Lebanon, whatever God wants, whatever he wills, I just ask for his will to be done. And I'm not just saying that. I'm genuinely, that's my future. Wherever God wants me to be, he'll put me, and I'm all for it.
So you're going to continue to call out, obviously, because I've noticed more and more. I know it's been happening forever, but just more and more Christian persecution. That's what you've been doing for some time.
I'll continue doing that.
That's what your
100%.
main purpose is.
Continue doing that. Continue helping people in Lebanon. Okay, building churches, helping the poor. A lot of people reaching out when they see podcasts like this. They want to get off their addictions. So I'm behind the scenes.
That's amazing.
On a weekly basis, going to people's houses, meeting up with men
Wow.
that are going down the wrong track and they want help, or their wives have reached out to me, or their parents have reached out to me, or they've reached out to me.
Yeah.
So I sit with them, contemplating, even praying on hopefully maybe doing something with rehab, with drugs and gambling. I don't know. I just want to
Really? Wow.
do whatever God wants me to do to help people to save souls and bring them to Christ.
Amazing, man. I'll just say on the record, I'm working with a charity where we're building a rehabilitation center out in Goulburn.
Oh, wow.
So just with you here and having that experience, anyone that wants to support a great charity as well, support Charlie's work. Also another charity that's doing work in the rehabilitation space out in Goulburn.
That's awesome.
We had a really generous benefactor donate 120 acres of land to the charity, which is amazing. And of that, we're building a rehabilitation center there. So anyone from your community that wants to support as well, anyone that's watching this that wants to support, just a great
That's beautiful.
organization. Yeah, thanks. Um, I was also going to just quickly give you the opportunity to mention to any of my audience, small at the moment but growing, again, what your plans are for the future. If you want to direct anybody to support your work or anything like that, how can they get onto you? How can they support?
Oh, this is the easiest way. Just follow me on Instagram on my Charlie Bakhos page or my Stand for Truth podcast page. Like you said earlier, subscribe to Stand for Truth podcast on YouTube, and just reach out to me in the private messages. Sometimes it takes me a while to get back to you. And there's many different things that I post about that I'm doing. And if you want to be part of it, if you want to be part of the Lebanon mission or building churches or helping people with addictions or part of supporting the podcast, just reach out to me, and I'm happy to have anybody on board in any of our ventures. So
Amazing.
let's stand together as Christians, as one united in Christ.
Amazing, man. You've been doing incredible work. Keep doing what you're doing. If we can do anything to support your mission as well, I'd love to give you guys a crack, give you guys a hand, and give us a crack give you guys a hand. But I just want to say thank you again for coming on.
And thanks for having me on, man. God bless you.
Appreciate it. God bless you, Charlie.
God bless, bro.